What do you want? You want the moon?
I think I finally know what I want to do with my life. I'm going to join the entertainment industry.
Abby, everybody knows you can't make any money with an arts degree.
But won't it make me happy?
Money can make you happy.
That's right, boys and girls. At Skitbags Radio, money can buy you happiness that creativity can. We always talk to the best in Hollywood and entertainment who are going to show you how to buy the happiness you deserve. Always on Dash Talk X. And you better buckle up, saddle in, take your phone off the hook because we got a brand new ball game. Let's go.
All aboard!
Boris, come here. I see them. Come. You do. Freeze. Don't you, Loe? It's Watasha. I don't like them. It's Eric in the Bull, Boris. They are disgusting. What are you doing here, Eric in the Bull? Don't say a word. I know what you want. It's Skitbags Radio on Dash Talk X. And we got Eric in the Bull in the house. I'm Missy C, the Enforcer. And it's Skitbags Radio time to talk. I'd like to introduce a wonderful talent, a producer, a bad man, young, fresh in his day, legend in his old time. He could die tomorrow and we're going to remember him forever. God damn. It's Mr. Eric Fleischman. And the Bull.
Thank you, Carl.
Yeah.
For anybody that didn't understand that, Eric Fleischman and his mob enforcer, Bo Blumental, are in the studio today.
What's up, fellas?
Prolific film producers and a couple of really great guys.
Yeah, thanks for being on,
Thanks for coming in.
having us.
Well, for our listeners out there, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves, like your background, and then we'll get into a breakdown of the Meg, because we always do a breakdown of a movie or TV show.
Sure. Do you want to start?
No, you go.
Okay, you go. How far back should I go?
Let's go back to how you got started.
I was born.
You were born, and then you went to USC.
Yeah, I'm a DC native.
You went to
USC for film production.
Mm-hmm.
I interned for Paramount Pictures when they were making movies a few years ago, and then from there went to work for an up-and-coming producer at the time named Jason Blum. I think he's still sort of up and coming. Maybe you've seen some of his movies. And from there, sort of through my experiences, saw an opportunity to start capitalizing on young Hollywood, something that no one still really isn't focusing on, and taking these sort of low-budget, genre-heavy models and applying it to that world. So I've been producing independently for the past 7 years. We just wrapped production on my 24th feature film as a producer, which is very exciting. Thank you. And we got to go to Africa too to shoot, which was amazing.
A bonus.
Nice bonus. I am.
Shout out to Yao.
Yeah, shout out to Yao, King Yao, back in Accra in Ghana. And I'm part of Defiant Studios, which is a low budget film production finance company that does truly whatever we want to do, which is kind of a great position to be in Hollywood. And Bull here is my Joe Pesci.
Yes, sir.
And I'll pass the mic over to him.
A much more attractive Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
I like to think so. My background. So I traditionally come from music. I started my first concert production company when I was 16 years old. Threw concerts up and down the East Coast until I went to college. And my sophomore year, I started another music production company. Was consulting for some major tours in the college market, and kind of got a little bit bored with music and transitioned into fashion. And had a watch line that I started called DB Fly that we found on Alibaba, bought them, interchangeable watches, and marketed to the college market. And luckily had some tremendous success, got published in People magazine, and got into Urban and ShopRite and all these outlets. And through those experiences, I was able to leverage all that and get a job at WME right out of school. And while I was there in the music department, I realized that music just really wasn't my bag. It wasn't for me at all. And from there, I transitioned into digital content, working for a guy named Danny Zappin. He was the founder of Maker Studios.
Right.
And while I was with Danny, I met Eric. And when I met Eric, I kind of just recognized a similar
entrepreneurial spirit.
Exactly. Similar type of beast as to myself. and
Different kind of animal.
different kind of
Still
animal,
beast,
same
different
beast.
kind of animal.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm more like a jaguar, and you're a bull.
Or a gorilla.
Oh, yeah.
Or a gorilla. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Gorilla.
Timon and Pumbaa.
Gorilla.
Yeah,
Shit,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We met each other a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And he needed help raising a little bit of money in a bind, and I was his guy. Made it happen for him, and since then we've been rocking and rolling, and we've made 4 movies together in the last year.
Yeah.
Nice.
The rest is
Yeah.
history.
The rest is history. There's a long history to be written yet.
So, for those that aren't so lucky to go to one of the top film schools in the world, USC, how would you recommend somebody get into producing? Like, obviously, you just decided one day that you need to start making movies. Otherwise, what's the point? So, what was it that gave you that confidence to go out there and make first film?
Well, I had always wanted to be a producer. It was actually the only thing I ever decided to do. We're talking like age 7. Mm-hmm. And that was something that my parents sort of pushed on me. They're like, if you decide now and you dedicate your life to it, you'll be ahead of the curve. And I was like, at 7 years old, I was like, okay.
I just picture you 7 like, man, hey, Johnny, what do you want to be when you grow up? Teach. I want to be a freaking producer.
Yeah,
Well, that's where it starts.
Yeah. No, but truly, at age 7, I wanted to be a film producer. So it's the only thing I ever wanted to do. I'll say this. You don't need to go to USC or UCLA or Chapman or LMU for film school. I think what you need to do is you need to be in LA during school. Because the internships, no offense to USC, we by the way, disclaimer, Defiant has a class at USC every spring. We teach micro budget filmmaking in the film curriculum, right? So we have a class. Doing it for 4 years now, and every semester we take a film that we made and we break it down over the course of the semester of how to make your first film out of school, right? That's sort of something that's missing from the film program, but it wasn't there when I was there. So you literally learn how to make movies if it's like 1975.
Yeah.
That's what you're taught. And so the idea of how do you go off and just produce independently or produce your own movie, I think, you have to truly want to be a producer. I think I meet a lot of people who are like, I'm a producer, but I also like to write, and I also want to direct, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's great, but that makes it harder for you to really venture out on your own because you have a desk job or you this, there's like, so if you have no other aspirations but to purely just be a producer, then I think that's probably step one, right? It's sort of clearing the way, because I have a lot of friends who are multi-talented, and I'm not saying you can't do all of it, but when you're starting out and you're learning as you go until you hit to the point where you have enough experience, so you're not really learning, you're more of just like, fuck, I messed up here, if you focus on one thing and you give it 100% of your attention, as opposed to 50%, you'll be able to move ahead faster than others. And so I think it was a mixture of, if you want to be a producer and you want to come to Hollywood, let's say you don't live here, right? Doing internships in LA during the summers, during the fall, winter, spring, whatever. Internships are year round. That's probably the best, and working for production companies.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something I learned the hard way. Coming from Indiana, there's not a whole lot of filmmaking.
Where did you start, though? Did you do the agency route?
No, I just came out here and I started doing background work.
Oh, my God. On CSI.
And through that,
New Orleans.
Through that, I met some directors, and I started working for these 2 directors, and then, one thing led to another, led to another, led to another.
Yeah. And now you're in prison.
And now I'm in prison.
But yeah, I think, it's a wonderful job to do. I think you do have to be, I used to say somewhat crazy. I think you have to sort of be just a little nuts.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a good way. I mean, you have to, and Bull makes fun of me all the time. You'll say like I'll say things or do things that to me make total sense, and in long game make sense. And I know Bull recognizes that, but Bull always has to call me and be like, you're nuts.
Yeah. The amount of times I've told him he's out of control is just 1,000 and climbing.
Yeah. But still, it's all in favor of having that mentality of, this is what you need to do to get the job done. Yeah. And so I think it's partly that. It's partly not giving yourself a backup. When we meet with filmmakers, regardless of producers, we meet with a filmmaker, we usually ask, like, if this doesn't work out, like, okay, I'm getting to know them. If it doesn't work out, like, what's the backup? If you have a backup plan, we do not work with you.
Wait, is that like your test? So if somebody ever has a meeting with Eric Fleischman and they're just like, yo, I got this freaking great idea. And he's just like, oh, yeah, it's brilliant. So what's your backup plan? You like, all right, get the fuck out of my office.
If someone says, well, I was like, yeah, like you're a great director, you're a great writer. Like, I'm just curious. Like, how long you been doing this? Like, oh, I've been doing it for 2 years. Okay, great. Well, like, is there a plan if it doesn't work out? I'm just curious. I'm curious. If someone has an answer, like, yeah, you know, I thought I might go back at this. I don't care how your good idea was. Yeah. I suddenly realized that you're not in this. You're not in this.
It's the inverse.
It's you have to be so fully because that's how we are. We're not. People ask me, like, I still get asked, like, you're a producer, cool. So like, what do you do for money? What do you mean? Yeah, like, are you driving? I'm like, I'm not driving Ubers. No, I'm producing. What do you mean? I said I was a producer. It's like, yeah, but like, how are you actually like making a living? Like, what do you not understand about me saying I'm producing movies? But there's this mentality, and I think this mentality exists because so many people have these backups. Right? That's the issue.
People are scared.
As you should be. It's a extremely volatile business, and it's probably you're the person who's sort of going in front of the bullseye every single time. Yeah, that's your job, to stand in front of the bullseye and be like, all right, if you need a shoot, just fire at me. Yeah, and so that requires, again, I don't want to say guts. It requires being a little crazy. Yeah,
also a little bit of luck, because if you make that first movie and it just totally tanks and somehow you got a couple $1 million for it from God knows where, and it just disappears.
You're done.
You're done. You're done.
Tremendous amount of luck involved.
Yeah.
But with you got kind of lucky.
Well, I didn't get lucky. No. I didn't get lucky at all. What I did was I recognized that I didn't want to be in that situation where I was going to raise $2 million and lose it. So I thought, what is the smallest amount of money I can make a feature film with? Right. What is the what can you not possibly lose? Yeah. So my first... I produced my first feature as a documentary in college, because at USC they told you that you don't get to make feature films there. And as I'm coming from DC, I was like, that makes no sense. It's a film school. So when I was 19, I produced my first feature as a doc called Paladar. That was about an illegal supper club operating around USC. Cost $5,000. Right? Cost $5,000. We raised it off Kickstarter. We shot for 3 years. You use almost like an out of school project. Yeah. But went to TriBeCa with it, made money on it. And then when I was at Blumhouse, when I was assisting there, my intern at the time was this kid who's straight out of Boston named Mickey Keating. I'm sure we'll talk about later because Mickey is no longer an intern. Mickey's one of the sort of most prolific young directors working in the genre space right now. Nice. But Mickey and I did our first narrative called Ritual, and we got $27,000. That was it, from friends and family. Like Grandma Dora's put in $1,000.
Very generous.
And, yes, very grand. Yeah, thank you, Grandma. And we sold it to Lionsgate for 5 times what we made it for, right? And so, as a first feature, it didn't matter really the quality level, which by the way was good. It looks pretty good for what you spent on it. It was the fact that I made it for X and I sold it for 5 times X. Yeah, and so as a producer, something that we talk about the first day of class is that financial track record is the most important thing. It's better to be making profit than it is to be trying to make your first. I have friends from school. I've been graduated from school I graduated 2012. I have friends who are still trying to put together their first movie for $10 million. They've done nothing. And it's like, who's going to, maybe Netflix comes around, but like,
it's a terrifying concept.
So they did nothing like small in between. They're not taking like the baby steps towards the larger thing. They're kind of just trying to jump across the goddamn Grand Canyon, basically.
Technology has advanced so much that you can shoot a movie for $27,000, a full feature film. I had a friend just now who was raising money for their short, raising $100,000. Just make a feature with that money. Yeah. What are you going to do with the short? I'm going to use the short as a proof of concept for the feature. Jesus. What you're saying is I'm going to purposefully lose $100,000
because shorts go nowhere. Fun fact: unless they go to a festival and win your Academy Award, which is
rarely.
1 in 500 million chance,
rarely,
it's not going to happen.
No, people shoot them on the iPhone. We did this movie with the Brazilian people with they had like the iPhone with the little gun and everything. And they had the little attachment on them. People are doing the goddamn movies with iPhones now.
Yeah,
Tangerine shot on iPhone 5.
Yeah. Unsane. Steve Soderbergh's movie from last year, this year, shot on the iPhone.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can do it. technology's there.
It's not impossible.
How crazy does my hair look right now?
That's cool, man. You look like you rode a motorcycle here.
No judgment. No,
right.
I'm growing my hair out. Bull used to have really long hair, so I'm trying to get to
My
to
hair
that
was
level.
down to here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm growing it out, so it's just a lot of hat wearing right now.
Well, from my experience, I have a little bit different experience than Eric when it comes to trying to step up and start to produce.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not always accessible to start working at one of these major production companies.
No, not at all.
It's very, very, very competitive, as you know, as we all know. But what I can't stress enough is to just get yourself ingrained in the ecosystem in any way that is possible.
Right.
There are PAs that continuously move up the ranks.
Background work.
Exactly.
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a level of patience and a level of truthfulness that you have to yourself, knowing that you're not just going to jump into the deep end and start producing day in and day out.
Yeah.
There's a massive learning curve, but once you're ingrained into the ecosystem and working with the right people, which is another thing that I can't stress enough,
Yes.
being with the right people, you're going to learn, they're going to empower you, and eventually you're going to be where you want to be. That's one side to it. The other side was where I was lucky and fortunate enough to be, where is you understand that there are a million aspects to producing. And each one is just as important as the next. And if you can provide value and bring in one of those aspects and be crucial to one of those aspects, you immediately get yourself in the door at the table. You may not be producing, but you're next to the guys that are, and you're learning at a rate that you could never do at a production company or anywhere else. So for, you know, people who are producing or trying to produce, getting involved, being on set, being around the people that are actually making it happen in an independent way, because, you know, we love to empower everybody that's around us. Everybody that works for us, we would love to keep working with and keep pushing forward. You just have to get out there and get it and not be so shackled to the idea that you have to go to a production company or you have to do it all yourself, because there are people out here who want to help you. You just have to go out.
Or that I need to have this credit or I can't do it.
Exactly. You have to be realistic with yourself. You know, not everything is just going to be handed to you on a silver platter, and it's not going to all happen tomorrow. But if you continuously take a step forward each day, it'll happen a lot sooner than if you just
and that's
swing
that
from
entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah,
that
but,
is so
you know,
crucial.
That is very, very crucial. You have to go out and take what you want, but you also have to realize that you're not going to be able to take the whole fucking bull by the horns. I'm sorry. Can I curse on here?
Yeah, of course you can.
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Fuck
dude.
shit, pussy, dick, cunt, lick,
I'm sorry.
motherfucking titty.
You can't say. Just say everything, but you can't say bull.
We bleep out bull, but you can't say shit.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm kind of curious, when we were talking about, you know, the importance of that track record of is what is important starting out and producing. What would you say is how do you transition that into like how do you make a film for as cheap as possible? By the way, if you look on the camera, I was smiling ear to ear when you were talking about that, because I say that fucking shit all the time to the people I'm surrounded by. And I'm like, whenever I'm talking to writers, I'm like, you don't need to drive a Ferrari off a cliff. You drive a Prius. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So, anyways, I was wondering, how do you take that and, like, when you're first starting out right out of college and bring it to market? Like, what would somebody do in the case of your $27,000 film? And, like, how does that work? Is it through contacts? I mean, obviously the film markets, but, like, what are some of those different avenues for our listeners out there?
You know, it's different per project. I was fortunate enough where, you know, working at Blumhouse, I had access. I was already aware of who sales teams were, right? I had access to them, even though I was an assistant. I still had access to them. And so we, through friends, got connected with an international sales company, which I don't think exists anymore, but maybe refurbished themselves into something else. And they came on board the project. But I think in general, you know, the easiest thing is getting a sales team involved in your film. And I think if you make a film and you live in Delaware and you don't live in LA and you haven't been to LA, but you made a great movie, or you think you made a great movie, which is hard to say at that point, you know, you go on IMDb and you know what IMDb is because you're interested in film. It's like it's like I'm interested in the English language. What's a dictionary? You would know what it is, and you can just cold email agents. Right?
Yeah.
Now, it's a little hard to find exactly.
No guarantee they're going to respond.
No, but you know what? Here's the thing. I know agents who've gotten cold emails from films who've taken them on. I've gotten cold emails from filmmakers with films that we've taken on and done films with. I think the cold submissions, yes, it is It's a thing, right? People get hundreds of thousands of cold submissions a year. We have a junk folder full of them that we just, we'll usually open it up and you can tell if it's professional or not. The longer the email, the less professional. That's a little trick for anyone listening. The shorter the email, the more professional you'll seem.
Yeah, the higher guarantee they're actually going to read it.
Yes, yes.
Hey,
yeah.
I have a question about this. Now, for the average Joe industry, what the fuck is a sales team? So is this like a group of people who like go out and get the money for the movie? Like, what is that?
So a sales team, it's a packaging team. A packaging team is comprised of both agents who raise capital and agents who sell products, right? So depending on what level your film is at, if you have a finished film and you need it to be sold to a distributor, part of the packaging team is the sales team, right? And it's a group of agents, and each agency, ICM, CA, WME, UTA, Gersh, Paradigm, they all have sales teams, right? These major institutions have their own sales force. And what they do is every year they take on, let's say, 100 plus movies collectively, and their job is to sell them, right? It's like, I don't want to belittle it. You're like a car salesman, right? You're inheriting this huge array of vehicles, and your job is to simply sell them.
Somebody who wants them.
It doesn't really matter to who or for how much. I mean, for how much, of course, you always want the biggest sale because the biggest commission, but the job is to move it from one category of unsold to the category of sold. And so you can do it yourself. We know people who are like, I'm going to go to AFM. AFM is the American Film Market, which takes place every November. It's basically a human zoo or a human circus. It's a little more entertaining than the zoo. It's a human circus. And you can do that. It's sort of an outdated thing. I don't even understand why it still exists. And I even spoke to some of our partners recently who are international sales agents. Like, why? It's like, it's just because it's there. It's there.
At this point, it's a networking event.
Yeah, I guess. But everyone knows each other. So you can go there and in November, buy yourself, you can buy like a pass, and you can bring your DVDs and your posters, you can get a booth, you can spend. But, the easiest thing is, and as easy as it maybe it's easier said than done, is you find a sales team one way or another. Now, if you're making a movie and you live in a state or a country that is far and removed from Hollywood, and you have no connections here. I mean, I had the only person I knew here when I moved out here for school was my cousin. I have two cousins, both who were, I think, getting into screenwriting. One was like just starting to like make a break a little bit. Shout out to Josh Shield, who's like now the writer of both Hot Tub Time Machine movies and one of the co-creators of Cobra Kai on YouTube. Yeah. He's great. Yeah, he's great. Yeah. Nice. But again, it's like, even he was like, he had been out here. He was I think he was a reader for scripts. Like he was getting paid to read scripts and give notes. Yeah. And so I think if you don't know anyone out here and you have no connections, then before you make your movie, it's good to sort of like familiarize yourself with the process, the people, the teams. Okay, I'm going to email CA's sales team and say, hey, you don't know me, I'm going to make a movie. How does it work? If you like it, like you should establish communication, or at least so that way you're not like, I made a movie, now what? It should be like, okay, I know that when this is done, I have these people I can go back to, even if they might say, this is a piece of shit. I say, well, at least I knew going into the process, because you have to raise money at some level. You're spending either your own money, grandma's money, someone's money is being spent on the movie. It's smart to sort of know the next step. And I feel like a lot of people I know don't do that.
Right. Especially if they don't know anybody here and they've never been here before and they don't have the internship, they don't go to film school.
Right, yeah.
Then how else would they know?
Yeah.
But
so what would you guys say are coming out of film school? When you're first starting out making your first couple films, what are some of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome, and like wrenches that were unexpected, and how did you solve those? Because I'm sure there's interesting stories.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I would say there's no real way I can possibly answer that question.
Okay.
Each film presents a completely new set of issues and problems that you have to solve. And that's because that after you have dealt with a certain movie and a certain amount of issues, you learn how not to repeat those. And so those issues don't happen again, but because they don't happen again, something else happens. So I'd say rarely do we have a film where there are zero issues. Now, issues is a hard word to use because sometimes, like on the movie we just shot in Africa, is called Rise. There were complications, and I would say that would be under the umbrella category of issues, but we knew how to solve them, and even though it was stressful, it wasn't detrimental. I've been on film, I've produced films where there are issues which are detrimental, right? Like a talent walking off set in the middle of the day, right? And just being like, okay, I have to call the agent, I have to do damage control. What are we shooting the rest of the day now without this? You know, you sort of have to reconfigure this puzzle. Right. But starting out, I mean, you have to sort of be under the impression that everything you do is going to be so new that if something goes wrong, it's better to have the mentality of like, okay, you can't like take it on yourself and be like, I just didn't know, and I wish I knew, and this is all my fault. It's like, no.
It's going to happen every time.
It's going to happen every time. Just realize this is something new. I need to learn from it. Ask. It's almost better to be like, I'm so sorry. This is my first time doing it. Can you explain to me what this is or what the issue is or how can I help solve it, right? You're just sort of opening yourself up to learning about it. And I would say 8 times out of 10, the person you're asking that is probably a seasoned, industry person, and they're like, no, fuck you, and hangs with the phone. And so the other 2 times, you or maybe get lucky and you get someone who explains, or you reach out to enough people that you might know who might have gone through something similar. I mean, here's the thing. I do think that everyone somewhere, through a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, can probably get in touch with someone who does something in Los Angeles and Hollywood, right? Like my mom's dentist's friend has a son who wants to be a screenwriter. And like they asked their parents, who asked the dentist, who knew my brother are out here. That's my mom. So like and they're living in rural Maryland, so it's like they found me and sent their script, right? Like they still did that. It wasn't good, but they still were able to find someone, right? And so I think it's always good to establish a little bit of communication out there.
It's always trial by fire.
And even if something goes wrong, like, but again, everything. I mean, like on Ritual, what went wrong? We were shooting at like, unbeknownst to us, we were shooting at like the #1 like drug dealing spot in Santa Monica. And like, so every day we were leaving, the cops would pull up and like think that we were there for 12 hours every day. Like, what are you guys fucking learning how to deal with cops. Like that was something that we've dealt with on a lot of movies.
And that's not something to discourage you. Like if something's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong every time.
It's always best.
So if it happens, just roll with it.
And also like, and always, if you did something wrong that hurt someone, not physically or maybe physically, hopefully not physically, but emotionally, whatever, you always apologize. You don't go in with an ego. You say, I'm so sorry. We've never dealt with a situation before. Can you, with us, walk us through how to fix this, and we will fix it.
Yeah, there is no set protocol, but there's an etiquette.
Right. Yes. Bribery
it's also the job
too.
description. Producer, you just problem solve all day.
Exactly. That was what I was going to point out. Thank you, Paul, because you're absolutely right, man. Problem solver and money raiser. That's why I like.
That's my #1 issue. I have to. One day I'll raise the money, and then a week later I have to re-raise everything.
Problem solver. We're out of money. What you guys do a lot of genre specific films, right?
Yeah.
And most of them horror, correct? Or how would you describe the genre if you want to? I was going to ask what brought you your interest to that genre.
We do a lot of genre, even though it's a term to describe
everything.
Categories.
Right.
Yes. I think more inter baseball, like inner industry, it's genre means action, horror, sci-fi, thriller, or some amalgamation of those categories stripped together. So like you're making a genre movie. It really means it's like if someone says it's a genre movie, it's probably not strict horror, strict anything. It's probably like, it's a sci-fi thriller. It's a action horror movie, right? It's some genre, they say genre bending.
It's a genre.
It's a type of film that isn't contingent necessarily on the cast or anything else. Rather,
concept.
The genre itself, the genre itself has innate value and can potentially bring viewers to the film.
Right. Yeah. There's a difference between high concept, low concept, and it's a hard term to use. We don't use it anymore. We use the term elevated genre because it just sounds Sophisticated, it means nothing.
It means nothing.
Low concept movies like When Harry Met Sally, right?
Yeah.
It is a
rom-com.
It's a rom-com. It's a drama.
It's been done.
It's a performance contingent movie.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right cast and they don't deliver the right performances, that movie doesn't work.
Yeah.
An elevated genre, high concept movie is reliant on the concept itself to deliver. It doesn't matter who's in it. Doesn't matter how good or bad they are.
Yeah.
You're seeing that movie for the concept.
Yeah, you want to see where this is going to go.
Right. Looper is a high concept movie. When Harry Met Sally is a low concept movie. The Meg, which we'll go
That
into,
is a high concept.
It's a mix between the both.
No concept movie.
No, that was a wonderful segue, by the way. Why don't we jump into the Meg for a couple minutes, because we normally start every episode with a breakdown, but you guys are dropping so much fucking knowledge on the school of Skitbags over here that I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I'm certain.
Before the show started, Bull was just absolutely raving about the Meg.
You watched it last night, didn't you?
I sure did.
Oh my god!
In preparation for this.
Yeah, Bull had
So
homework
what,
last night.
in your opinion, Bull, makes the least amount of sense about the movie?
Oh my god!
Just the overall,
Pandora's box here.
the underlying concept of a shark living at the bottom of the ocean? Or the fact that the Mariana Trench in the movie is 200 miles away when in fact it's really in the middle of the Pacific Ocean?
Oh my god, what made the least amount of sense? Well, first of all, there was two of them out of nowhere. They're looking for this one prehistoric shark, and all of a sudden there's a second. But I think the thing that made the least amount of sense was the fucking dog. What was that little Yorkie even doing?
Well, it was there's a wedding party.
I understand the wedding party, but what significance did that Yorkie have? It was just
Here's the
boggling
thing.
my
Here's what you have
mind.
to realize. The Meg was a co-Chinese production.
Yes.
So there are elements in the movie,
Preach.
especially and cast. You could tell,
The
right?
cast I got.
The cast you got, right? You have a high net worth amount of like the biggest Chinese
audiences
actors.
love
Yeah.
Jason Statham also.
They do.
love him.
I
love Jason Statham.
Yeah. And so there are elements in there, even probably like the Yorkie, that are maybe more either common or culturally significant.
We may not understand, but
I
the
felt-
Chinese
I
audience.
told you this
need for
earlier.
it.
I felt that like the whole movie was a second act. I felt it didn't start and it didn't really end. And you're underwater for a little bit and you look at this Meg, which was well done. I thought I actually really enjoyed the shark. But all of a sudden they're in the clear and then this thing is attacking him, but there was no story. There were no the stakes weren't high at all because you just stay away from it.
In the
kind of.
ways
If
it
I
was
see
attacked,
that, you
yeah.
leave. It's not like it's going to come onto land. You send an alert to the people in the water or something
You
that if this prehistoric school bus with 10 feet fangs is coming and trying to kill you, you probably would alert the people on the shore that this thing is coming.
Yeah.
So you just
They've
say
seen
stop
Jaws.
fucking with it and the movie's over, basically.
Exactly. Or just like call somebody who has the capability to kill it, like the government.
The government.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're literally off like Chinese shores.
I felt like they tried to make Jason Statham, what's his name, Harry Stamper from Armageddon.
Yeah.
Like it was this one guy who can save everything.
Yeah.
But
Wait, not only that, the one guy who's able to say this, like, this guy's about to go in a swimsuit with a spear.
Yeah,
He
The
jumps
guy-
into the water
but here's the thing,
with the shark.
He jumps in the water. So, like, the most badass of badasses, but, like, you have to give him a flaw, right? And I was just, like, watching this movie, and Jason Statham's flaw is that on the last time he did this, whenever that was, he lost someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't someone special. Just one person died. And he is so sensitive about losing this one person. And then he's like, wait, someone else went in the water? Fuck it. And he just jumps in with a spear. What?
His ex-wife was down there.
Ex-wife.
And then that relationship went absolutely nowhere in the movie.
Right, yeah.
So, hey, let me get back into the water.
He's like, Bing,
after
Bing, Lee.
5
You'll
years.
do. And it goes after Bing, Bing,
Yeah.
Lee at that point.
Yeah,
I haven't been in the water in 5 years. Let me save my wife. And then after I save her, let me just forget that she's even existing and I'll fall in love with this other woman. Also, there was no character development. I didn't feel a single
Not
thing for
at
any of them.
all.
Wait, but here's something we need to talk about. Wait, we need there's one. The reason that I wanted to talk about them, there's a lot of reasons to talk about the Meg, but one is
Secretly loved it.
A lot of inconsistencies also.
is let's talk about maybe the best casting in the movie, right? Probably the most accurate
The little girl.
casting. No, the most accurate casting was Ruby Rose playing a Pulitzer Prize winning scientist. Right? Literally the dumbest fucking thing I have ever seen.
Pat it up.
I actually
super moody, and she's like, "Wait a second, what happened?" Done. And you're like, literally, you got cast because like they must love you in China because otherwise it makes zero fucking sense.
It's like an Instagram casting. Oh, you got this many followers?
She's 28 years old. Like, there should be a whole movie about how she got there. I want to see that. If you really want me to believe that, I want to see the prequel of like Ruby Rose being a child prodigy, and like understanding exactly not only how like she knows everything about sharks and everything about like whatever this system that she had, like she built. She's like Shuri from Black Panther, but with zero backstory.
Zero backstory.
She's become the number two.
Don't the Chinese people like the androgyny thing or something? Isn't she one of those like androgyny queens? Like she's a man and a woman at the same time. You know, the Asians got that whole boy girl androgyny.
Is it a thing?
I think it's like a thing for them or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what she was.
No, it's like it's like a Vaseline in your butt kind of thing.
I will say though, there was one character I really, really enjoyed.
Oh.
The little Asian boy with the popsicle.
See? I told you.
Oh yeah,
it is.
Oh my god, he stole the show.
He was unbelievable.
But yeah, I mean, the movie literally makes. I'm looking at the cast right now, just I'm not forgetting anyone to make fun of.
I was also incredibly confused with the relationship between Rainn Wilson and his crew. One second he's the boss and some badass billionaire, and the next minute,
once things start going
fisherman
wrong,
is telling him to go fuck himself.
Well, he worked for Bing Bing Lee's dad, who's played by.
No, Rainn Wilson was the one funding it all.
No, I thought there was someone above him. Zhang. Winston Chow.
He
the
was
one
like,
who died? That guy?
Yeah.
No,
he wasn't her dad?
below him.
Her dad dies.
Her dad
he ran the facility.
He ran the facility.
And then Ruby
Rainn
Rose
Wilson
was his number
the
two.
one giving him all the money.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, John Turteltaub directed this movie.
Oh my God, the legendary director behind Cool Runnings.
Oh man.
He did Cool Runnings?
Yeah.
I know John Turteltaub did Cool
you know what
Runnings?
else he made? He made Three Ninjas.
That movie made me
laugh.
laugh.
Did he really?
He made
He's
Three
been working
Ninjas.
a long
Ninjas.
time.
Maybe the most
He did Three
nostalgic movie
Ninjas,
in my
and then
life.
immediately afterwards he did Cool Runnings.
Yo, Cool Runnings was dope.
This guy is a legend.
And then
Yeah.
he did National Treasure, and now he has made The Meg.
Right. And you're right. Three Ninjas, Cool Runnings,
Oh, you're on his IMDb.
Phenomenon.
You guys remember
made
that scene
Phenomenon.
in Three Ninjas
Yeah.
where he dunks, the little kid dunks?
Yeah.
Very 90s
That
heavy.
was never been so
He also,
when
he
you're
also
a
did the
ninja,
kid
you
with
can do
Bruce
that kind of thing.
Wilson, which is great. But yeah, he's a Disney loves him. I know it's not a Disney movie. Disney loves him.
Oh, yeah.
But it's interesting that you look at a movie like this, and you would think they would say from the director of National Treasure, from the director of Sorcerer's Apprentice.
No, it's just a giant picture of a shark, and that's all the marketing that they did.
I mean, it's just like, but I almost feel like John was kind of like, this is a money job, and I'm just not gonna.
Yeah, he doesn't want his name on it.
Yeah, I don't want my name on it.
Like phone it in.
It's nothing to phone in. You just took the script from Jaws, and we're going to have it take place in China.
Yeah.
That's the movie. That was the pitch. And they were like, done. Where do we write a check? Yeah. And it just like, stuff like that. I watched this on the way back from Africa on the plane. So I was like a little delirious. And I was like, I want to watch something that's like, should be
As
like,
John Turteltaub intended it to be seen.
yes, on like a with like the jankiest little like KLM
He's like, I want people to see this on the smallest screen possible.
Right.
But the movie is just like you know, as a filmmaker, you see movies like that get made, and it makes, of course, it makes buku money because it appeals to both a domestic audience and an international audience on a lot of levels.
Massive movie in China.
Massive movie in China. So okay, as a money play, I can respect it, right?
Because he got paid up front,
Yes, of course. But at the same time, it's like, can we not make this kind of movie a little more, not plausible, because obviously it's but like cast it differently. Like give me a little more backstory or something. You talk about these action films. Let's talk about like Mad Max Fury Road. Great fucking movie. It's a 2-hour car chase. But there's
Two main characters.
Two main characters.
There's about 25 in the Meg.
And no one really speaks, but that movie has so much heart, so much emotion. You understand the casting was great. Like you're along for the ride and you're really invested in these characters. The Meg is like Jason Statham could have died, and I literally been like, okay.
Yeah.
That much closer to the movie being over.
Yeah.
He should have died a couple of times.
Yeah.
At one point, the shark is pulling the boat. The massive boat, pulling it.
Right.
And then, all of a sudden, Jason Statham is in the water with it, and it gets stopped by the boat.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the cable.
Yeah. Yeah, and doesn't he kills? He stabs in the eye,
And he's kicking with his
Right?
legs.
Yeah, he does.
Really?
He's literally kicking with his legs, backpedaling to get away from the shark.
Yeah,
It
he's
works.
trying to outswim a fucking mega shark.
Yeah,
And he just stabs it in the eye, movie over.
yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh, no, he cuts it with the piece of metal
So you guys,
off of his little ship.
I barely even remember the movie, and I watched it yesterday.
do you guys think that obviously I feel like a lot of the decisions made in the movie were A, financial, but B, because it was geared to a Chinese audience, right?
It wasn't entirely geared because it does have to play domestic, right?
Yes, it has to.
The domestic numbers and the domestic release platform still to this day dictates what the international looks like. So you do need a big domestic play for it to also have the same effect internationally.
It might not catch fire if it doesn't catch fire in the United
And by the way,
States.
there are plenty of movies that, and I know you know this from a lot of research you did from one of the other movies that you guys are part of, but stuff like Green Lantern, which made a fuck ton of money internationally.
Oh, yeah.
Movies like John Carter of Mars made a fuck ton of money internationally.
Yeah.
These movies that are known as flops domestically are not flops. They're a financial success. Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad almost made $1 billion.
Crazy. And they're going to make another one, and it'll be twice as bad.
Anything Steven Seagal's in.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. That guy. I'm pretty sure it's
is alien.
I feel like he died a while ago, and this was a hologram.
He's literally an
Jean-Claude Van Damme?
alien. He's being controlled by...
I met with an international sales company a couple months ago, and they listed a couple of their most profitable actors overseas, and it was like Steven Seagal, Wesley Snipes, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
All these guys I haven't seen on screen in a decade.
Right.
Well, and overseas, they're fucking gold.
But you know what happened? Do you know why that is? I was always curious, and I did some research.
Steven Seagal specifically.
Steven Seagal, Dolph Lundgren, all these guys, right? What happened was when VHS was king, 80s, 90s, and you had people like Steven Seagal and Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude Van Damme starring in action films, and Schwarzenegger starring in action films, and those were being released.
Yeah.
When DVDs came around, not every place advanced. And then when DVDs went away and streaming came around, not every place advanced. So what happened was, it's almost like Simple Jack and Tropic Thunder, where a lot of places were left with these VHSs of old guys.
And they just kept rewatching.
Yeah, and so what happened was you have people like Steven Seagal, who was the only person that people in Bulgaria were seeing for 30 years. And now what happens is people have advanced to streaming or whatever like that, but these are the guys who have value because these are the people that the audiences have been seeing.
Yeah.
And so now, it's sort of changing a little bit. I think some actors are getting into that game. So like Kelsey Grammer's getting into that game. Kellen Lutz is getting into that game. Who's also getting into that game?
Schwarzenegger's kid's getting into the game.
He's getting into the game, but my favorite is Mike Tyson.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Dude.
Mike and Steven Seagal are in an upcoming movie.
Really?
We're going to give it a shout out in a second. I'm going to find out.
No
but
way.
yes, they actually are.
Mike and Steven.
And the trailer you have to watch at some point is amazing because no one talks in the trailer because obviously...
I just recently watched a Steven Seagal movie where he did not speak until 45 minutes into the movie. Every time he was on screen was an action sequence. He
100%.
He didn't speak.
What movie?
I don't remember the name. It was the third in a trilogy.
So it's the good one.
Okay, the movie you have to watch is called, no joke, it's called China Salesman. It's Steven Seagal and Mike Tyson.
Of course, it doesn't star anybody who's Chinese.
No, of course not. And I'm going to just pass this around. Oopsies. I'm going to pass this around. This is the poster. That's the poster.
Oh, man.
Oh my God.
So just so
That
you
looks
can
like
see,
the poster from
it is-
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
it is truly Steven Seagal in a toupee and Mike Tyson with Photoshop.
You don't think
hands.
he has plugs?
I don't think so. I think this kind of looks like Danny McBride playing Steven
really
Seagal,
does.
doesn't it? Right?
Yeah, it does. It's those eyebrows. It's really-
The widow's peak is very sharp on that, man.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my little.
He's deputized. Have you seen his show on A&E
he
where
looks
he's
like
a
a-
cop?
No.
Oh my God,
it's a
it's
reality TV
ridiculous.
show.
He looks like an old, wrinkled up Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
You
He's
left him out in the sun for a couple of years.
Like a raisin driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also runs like a girl. We make fun of him quite a bit on our Fight Dub show. He is our, like, you know how they have a moment of zen on the end of the Daily Show? Yeah. Well, we do something like that called like Technique of the Week, and he's usually featured for how terrible he is at most things.
He's a martial arts master.
Yeah, if you want to call it that. I said the fight of the year would be Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Steven Seagal as like the Conor Mayweather undercard. And like they're both so ridiculous. Right. Let's just get off that.
Yeah, if only he didn't have so many sexual assault allegations, maybe he could make a movie in the United States.
Yeah, fuckers keeping like Russians close. I don't know. Goddamn him and Putin. Conspiracy, fake news.
He's a sheriff. He is a legitimate sheriff with the Miami Police Department.
One of the funny things to point out, though, by the way, on that show, what did you say, Miami?
Oh, no, it's in
New
Georgia.
Orleans. No.
Oh, it is New Orleans.
It's New Orleans.
It was in the South.
Look at you broad stroke us. So one of the things that's really funny, if you notice when you watch a show, ladies and gentlemen out there, if you happen to stumble across this gem,
on A&E,
he will talk in the accent of whoever he's arresting.
What?
Yeah.
He changes it all the time.
So he'll go up to like a group of black guys that he's questioning and be like, yo, what's up, my brother? How you doing? What's up? And then he'll go like up to a Spanish group of people and be like, hey, ese, what's going on, man? How you doing?
What if he arrests a woman?
I don't know. I haven't seen that yet. I think he just keeps them chained in his trailer as sex slaves. Apparently.
Hi, man.
That's the word on the street.
That's the only thing that he can get away with in Thailand. Yeah, right, Thailand's the only place he can get away with it.
Yeah,
so that's where he moved.
Is he really in Thailand? Yeah. I guess I'll see him in a week.
So I wanted to ask you guys, what was it like filming in Africa? What's the movie scene? What's the industry like there? Because I know it's got a bunch of good things coming and happening.
It was fucking amazing.
Did you have a good fixer?
It was the best time of my life.
Yeah.
Well, where'd you guys go? Start with that. Where'd you guys go?
We went to Accra. Accra. Sorry. I'm a little rusty. I've been out of there for a month. I got to get back there.
And where is that?
It's the capital of Ghana.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And the city was great. The people were wonderful. And
the food is amazing.
Surprisingly modern.
Shooting there was just so incredibly rewarding because we were immersed with the culture. Like our purpose of being there was to really, truly shoot Africa and the life that the African people were living, because that was our way of, reining this film into our protagonist's
life. Why don't you
life.
tell what the movie's about?
The film's called Rise, and it's about an African princess. Her family, her father and mother are king and queen of Nigeria. She has 6 older brothers who are all ahead of her in line of succession to take over the throne, and a younger sister. So when she comes of age, she goes to college in America because she is so far down the line of succession of the throne. And while at school, we have it at USC, the Boko Haram ransack her village and kill her entire family, her mother, her father, her brothers. But they kidnap her little sister to bring into sex slavery and sell her to the highest bidder because she's, worth everything.
They hold them at ransom to get their brothers back.
So it's like the Bring Back Our Girls thing that kind of went down.
Exactly.
That is what it is.
So our protagonist, she has to go back to Nigeria to restore diplomacy in her village.
And they want her to become queen.
But once she's there, she makes it very obvious that she has no interest in being queen, and her only objective is to rescue her little sister. And the Boko Haram comes back the next night, or a few nights later, and she voluntarily lets them kidnap her. So she can basically infiltrate their internment camp and save her sister from within and break her out and get them both loose. But while she's there, she's trying to do that. She almost succeeds. She gets she makes this incredible bond with a bunch of the women that are in this camp. And I won't ruin the ending, but she succeeds and has a much bigger purpose now after saving her little sister than just her little sister. And eventually, takes... Yeah, no.
Paul's just ruining
I'm just ruining it. I love it so much. I'm just ruining it.
Right.
Yeah. It's a great movie. Go see it.
But we couldn't shoot in Nigeria because there was basically the insurance companies were like, you could potentially get kidnapped.
Let me tell you something about the motherfucking. Look, I love my people, right?
Are you Nigerian?
No. Well, basically, most African Americans that have a long history that comes to say, they're pretty much from West Africa. That's where they pretty much took you from. That's where you picked you up. You usually got sold early. Then things got a little shady after things got illegal. But anyway, West Africa is where it's from. So Benin, West Africa. So that Nigeria, all that area, all that West Africa.
Ghana too, probably.
That's where, Ghana. That's another place. That whole area, that's pretty much where your African Americans are from. And the Nigerians, I love y'all. Y'all great people when y'all here. But y'all cousins over there shady as fuck.
Oh, yeah. Our
check scams.
Our last week's guest, actually, Yoey. Well, I was just laughing at her. She's such a sweetheart. She's a professional dancer, and when she first got out, moving out to LA, she set up her rent via Craigslist and was sending some Nigerian guy like thousands of dollars for deposits. And when she was like, "Well, I just thought he was out of town. He said he was on vacation." It's a priceless moment. But anyways, yes, God. I agree with you, Carl. More importantly, what was the process like filming in Ghana and Africa? Like working with the people, like the locations.
So we started prepping that movie obviously months in advance, and it was sort of again like we were talking about producing. We knew no one in Ghana.
Mm-hmm. Got to get a fixer.
Yeah, we were kind of like our first thought was, should we shoot in South Africa? There's a big film community there. Should we go to Kenya? There's a film community there. I know that Maurice knows people in Rwanda.
Up and coming film industry in Rwanda.
Yeah. The problem was, when we spoke to people who were from the continent, everyone said, if you want it to look like Nigeria, you can't go to Nigeria, you have to go to Ghana and nowhere else, because Ghana's safer. It's actually ranked safer than the United States, which is true. And the funny thing, we'll get into this later, the funny thing is, Ghanaians, when you say, like, have you ever visited the United States? Like, why would I go to the United States? I get shot. That's literally their response. Like, your country is so dangerous. Why would I, like, literally our fixer there, was like, why would I go? And I was like, okay, touche. But, our process basically was, we knew one movie that had shot in Ghana, which is Beast of No Nation.
Wonderful movie.
So we went on IMDb, hit up cold emailed.
The line producer?
All the producers. Everyone, all the producers, the companies, whatever. I think like 2 people got back to us and said, you should talk to this person. We talked to that person. We talked to another person. And finally, the line producer of Bloodshot, who was working, the South African line producer in Bloodshot, said, we just shot another film for BBC in Ghana. And this guy, Yao, who now we call King Yao, because he's literally a president Yao, fucking a national treasure over there, was the best fixer and best production manager there. So they introduced us to him.
Crucial.
Oh my God. Crucial. Like having a local production manager is all you really need. Someone who can make your wildest dreams.
It goes back to the original point of his question. How do you solve the issues? What are the biggest problems?
You got to have somebody who knows.
So when we have problems in Los Angeles, there's so much fallback. There's so many people we can call to fix our problems. When we were in Ghana, we had nobody, but we hired the right fixer, the right guy down there who was able to make all of our dreams come true.
Yeah.
He was the most capable human being I think I've ever been around.
Yeah.
I would vote for him for president of the United States if I could.
Yeah. But he was great. So you have Yao, his team, and stacks of cash.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all you really need to solve your problems in Ghana. But, the process was, we were there for 8 days. We flew out 10 crew members, our lead actress. We had local casting there, cast the rest of the cast. We were shooting like real scenes. It wasn't just B-roll. Like, we actually had scenes from the script to shoot there.
Correct.
And the idea was to sort of stitch them together with the stuff that we shot here, which we have. And so filming there was an absolute, honestly, an absolute treat. The people, the country is not. If you want to go to Ghana, it's not for safari, right? There's baboons, but there's not like.
It's not the Serengeti.
No, we shot in the savannah, but it's kind of just like, it's more like
just landscape.
Landscape, yeah, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, but you're not going to see a tiger.
It's more cultural, historical places like Cape Coast, which is, it's in Ghana. It's 4 hours up the coast from where we were, and that's, Cape Coast Castle, for those of you who don't know, was a major slave export location in Ghana. It was one of the biggest, where basically, because it was on the ocean, and they had, you did the tour through Jamestown. They had tunnels under the castle, underground, so that people wouldn't see natives being led to the boats. They took them underground, and then they popped up on the ocean. And so where we did shoot, though, down the street was this old British prison. And also, I can show you guys pictures before we leave. Where back in the day, it used to be a slaveholding prison. So what they do is they'd bring people, they'd hold them there, and it's kind of awful because it's literally on the beach. You can hear the seagulls, you can hear the ocean waves, you can smell it. It smells like freedom. And it was obviously convenient for the Europeans exporting because it was right there. But it's almost sort of fucks with your head where it's like it sounds like you're so close. And then, of course, as the years went on, it became a prison for, I think, political adversaries or whatever it is. I mean, it's only been, we were there and we're like, it looked like it had been abandoned for 100 years. And we said, how long has it been abandoned for? A year.
Yeah. It's
ridiculous. Horrifying that it looked like the way it did. It really, there was an old cannon from like the 1500s still there, just like rusting away. Like the thing was just sort of left as it was. But, we shot there. We shot in Makola Market, which is like this, massive outdoor market area where like hundreds of thousands of people. And, no permits, like true guerrilla filmmaking.
I saw you guys on your story walking through the crowds with holding a fucking all your gear and rig on you.
We hired plainclothes cops, which I think were just people's cousins. Just paying some money and they're just like, and it's funny because the culture there, people don't really stop and stare. It's more like you're in the way moves. So like people are just like pushing the camera out of the way, rushing. Everyone's of course carrying stuff on their heads, and I have no idea how they do it. Just like giant sacks of yams. And I'm like, and like holding a baby. And I'm just like, it literally makes us. But the people, the culture there is in general extremely welcoming. Ghana is a great place for tourists to go, especially if you haven't been to Africa. I'd say it's almost like the gateway drug to Africa because there's no organized crime. Criminals don't target tourists because they want you to come. The food is like a mix between Jamaican and Brazilian food.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
Tell about the Kelly Welle.
Let me tell you about Kelly Welle. So I grew an obsession with Kelly Welle, which is like triple fried ripe plantains. And they season them. So imagine it looks and tastes like a mozzarella stick, but it's just extra fried spiced plantain.
That sounds amazing.
It's amazing. But it was like that, like grilled chicken wings were like the staple food. So everywhere you went, there was different kinds of grilled chicken wings, which
that's awesome.
I love. But it's like a lot of jerk chicken, fried plantains, jollof rice, which is like a red bean dyed rice.
Red rice.
And you can probably go to, I've looked it up since there's no Ghanaian restaurants here. There's a few Nigerian restaurants which share sort of similar places, but our gaffer, who's from here, from USC, this guy, Sean, family's from Ghana, lives here with his wife. I'm going to his house in January. His wife's going to cook us a Ghanaian meal, which is great.
Inviting myself over.
You should come. I said I'd make Kelly Welle, and they're like, that's funny. But the food is honestly great. But it's also, we were in there in November. It's like 95 degrees, 90% humidity. You leave the hotel, and maybe this was just me, and 20 minutes in, you're just drenched.
It took me about 20 seconds.
Drenched in sweat.
You're smacked in the face.
Yeah,
with heat.
yeah.
It was like 90. It was probably like 93 degrees and 90% humidity.
Yeah, it felt like 120, and you're like eating outside.
Like Hell's Waiting Room.
Yeah, you're eating outside, eating the spicy food, just like sweating over everything.
But it was kind of nice because everybody was sweating, and everybody just had an understanding that everybody's going to be sweating. So you're not worried about it. You're like, you know what? Bring it on. Let me drip.
Yeah. But it was, we would go back in a heartbeat. We were actually on one of the last days that we were there, we were talking about, because Rise is it's a dramatic thriller. I would say it's a dramatic thriller. It's not a horror movie. But we were asking, now that we know the infrastructures, you're like, what kind of horror exists here? Like, what is the idea? And, voodoo.
Like
they call
local
it juju.
folk tales and stuff.
Juju, which is voodoo, is like, still very prevalent around the country. So we're sort of thinking about how do you do a movie, because we 100% would go back. We will go back and shoot.
One other thing that I wanted to say about filming there, and I think filming internationally in general, or just doing something new, we were so outside of our comfort zone. We were doing something that was brand new to every single one of us, no matter how much experience
except Sean.
Except Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, filming there on a feature film was new for him, though.
Yes. Yeah.
And when you're doing that and you're so indulged, it's so easy to get inspired. After filming for one day, all of us were just like, holy fuck, this is changing the movie. This is changing everything that we're working for. So we were out there trying to enhance everything that we could. We added scenes to our trip because we were so excited and inspired about what we were able to capture in Ghana and how it was really going to propel this film.
Yeah.
And that to me was probably the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Not only what we could capture, but how indulged and inspired we got by being able to shoot and capture down there
and
to add films, add pieces to this movie that are really going to enhance it to the next level.
And all those pieces, you know, are going to make the movie look like you spend millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on it. It's absolutely gorgeous. We're doing it again next year. We have a film that's going to shoot in India. We're going to India for a week and a half.
Yeah, now we're trying to develop scripts so we can just shoot elsewhere.
I'm going to
we had a meeting the other day. We're like, what can we do in Thailand?
Yeah, I'm going to Thailand end of this week for 2.5 weeks, and I'm sitting down with. I have a meeting now with the local Bangkok crew who did like Hangover 2 or Hangover 3, whatever it was.
Nice.
And did my friend's film Ghost House in Bangkok. So we're going to sit down with them because that's another place it's easy to go because it's just like Ghana, it's expensive to fly out there.
Yeah.
But once you're there, it's not expensive.
Yeah.
So I think what we're trying to do now is, especially with the genre films that we're doing specifically, is how do you do 3 weeks here, 1 week somewhere else, and those scenes somewhere else really enhance the overall flavor of the movie to the point where to a marketplace, to a buyer, to a distributor, it looks like you spent a lot more than you did.
Question for the average person in the street. So after you make a film, you get it done, you get a film, you get it recorded, you got all it done, and it's getting colored and sounded and all that. How long is it before you can actually probably get it to put it on the screen? Between that, like, how long is that process? Because sometimes it'll be 2-3 years before you make something 2-3 years, or is it quick? Can it be 6 months? Can it be as quick as like the guy finishes the coloring and we're done, we're out? Or what would you say?
It depends. Every film has a different process. We had a film called All About Nina that comes out on DVD in 5 days. That we shot. So here's the process for that one. We shot it fall 2017. We premiered at TriBeCa 2018, April, and it came out fall this year. Okay. So basically 12 months from production to having the film be released in theaters.
Which is rather quick.
We had and then so the opposite end of that, we had a film called SLEIGHT that we made a few years ago. We shot that in summer 2015. It premiered Sundance 2016, and then it came out in theaters 2017, or no, maybe it came out in theaters 2016. I'm trying to forget now the timeline for SLEIGHT.
Are you just asking about the post-production part of it?
Yeah, just do the post-production part, and then when you finally, I guess, maybe you got to get it sold or whatever it may be, or unless you decide to put it out yourself, whatever. What would you say is like the average time frame? Because, people get done, and I think they think, all right, I got a film, I got it shot, then they think, all right, it's going to be out next week. You know what I'm saying?
No.
They don't realize like the work that it takes to actually get it somewhere.
When it's done, usually if you're doing independently, you're submitting to film festivals. You're waiting to hear back from those film festivals. It depends on when that film festival is. And then you premiere at that film festival, and then it could be another 6 months till you sell it, or, to finalize the deal. Now, if you sell it, it could be another year until it comes out, right? We've had films that came out 12 months. We've had films that we shot. We have a film that we shot end of 2016 that won't come out until top of next year, 2019, right? Depends on if it does, and let's say it doesn't get into a festival, then you're having your own, you're screening it through your sales team to buy to the distributors. And then a distributor buys it, and then at that point, it's totally up to them when they want to release it. They could release it in 3 months. They could release it in a year. Depends on what their windows look like.
Have they ever sat on any of your stuff before or anything like that? Or?
We had not a distributor. A distributor usually doesn't sit on anything for too long. If anything, it's the part prior to that where the film's done, but you're trying to, position in the good place. And so you're sort of sitting on it for a little bit. You're waiting for a film festival to submit to, or you're waiting to hear back from a film festival, but that could be another 3 months. And so you're sort of, it depends on how eager your film financiers are to get their money back. Yeah.
I think that.
Yeah.
What is that festival process like, Mr. I'm the youngest producer to ever debut 2 features at Sundance in a single year?
Forbes 30 under 30, Eric Fleischman.
Yeah.
Right?
Can you guys all be my publicists? Collectively be my publicists?
Yeah, hype team.
What was the question?
So what is the festival process like? Because you submit, like, once you're accepted in premiering it there for the young filmmaker who's never been to a festival, let's say their film gets accepted. What do you expect? Like,
so it's having gone to film festivals without films than with films, you obviously realize how you should only go with films. Because it's like you're either a spectator or you're like treated like royalty. It's a real difference. So for like Sundance, we've had films at Sundance and South by and TriBeCa. Sundance is my favorite film festival in general, just because it's very small, not in terms of amount of people, but in terms of scope, right? It just exists on Main Street in Park City. It's like a mile. It's like a strip of land in the middle of the fucking like valley of death, of snow, and everyone is there. Right, it's supposed to like South by is in Austin is just the whole city. Right, TriBeCa in New York is the whole city. TIFF in Toronto is the whole city. It's not like you don't get a sense for like I could go and walk down the street and go to a play. Sundance, it's just the film festival. Right, there's nothing else there besides that. And so when you have a film in, as soon as you get a film in, you have to immediately hire a publicist. Right, you have to hire a publicist for your movie, and the publicist gets to work immediately. You're dealing with logistics with the programmers. You have, 120 people from the film that all want to come, and you only get 30 tickets. So you're dealing with tickets and logistics, and you're dealing with the press for the film, how to strategize it. The sales team is involved in the press as well, because they're trying to give it the best positioning they can. And sort of this, and it's so exciting, and it all accumulates to finally getting there. And it's very much, a producer's job is to produce at the festival. So your job is to organize. I mean, literally when we were at Sundance, I had to organize everything from every single meal for every single film. Okay, where are we going for dinner this night? This movie's, okay, tonight, Carnage Park. Group is going to go to this restaurant at this time. And then from there, we have an event for SLEIGHT. So like your calendar is just packed. And so during the days of the festival, leading up to the premiere time, you are running around up and down the street with your cast and your filmmaker, going to all these different interviews with the publicist. It's like you're kind of like almost like you're their publicist. You're watching. You're sitting in the corner. Like, don't say that, or like talk about this. I think this worked last time. Because what's happening is at a film festival, all the buyers are looking at you. They're looking at you, and they're looking at all the other available properties that they can buy. And they're looking at the interviews. They're listening to the radio podcasts. They're watching the TV stuff. They're reading about it in the press. Whatever it is, and it's informing their decisions on will they want to buy your movie and for how much they want to buy your movie for. And so that all accumulates to the premiere. You're trying to pack that house. In Sundance, in the biggest theater, I think fits like 500, 650 people. It's like they're really, really massive theaters. Yeah. You want to make sure you're sold out. Premiere, after the premiere, if all the buyers are there, it's sprinkled around. And so you need that premiere to have this electric feeling. People need to be applauding, screaming, clapping, whatever. If your premiere falls flat, buyers will walk out. My year, Swiss Army Man was there. And the famous story during the festival was in the first 30 minutes of the movie, most of the buyers left. Like, and that's typical, right? Yeah. You're a producer sitting in your own theater, and there's 150, 250, 350, 500, 650 people there. You see someone get up, that person's a distributor. Yeah. And that movie's not for them. And it's always like, you sit the fuck back down. You sit down in your fucking chair.
Is that why you sit on the top?
You sit in the back, you sit in an aisle, so you can see them, you're like, what's up? What's up? Not for you? Not for you? Okay, cool. Yeah. Don't call me ever again.
Have you ever had like a difficult artist, one of your actors that you're working with was kind of like a dick about the whole promotion process or anything that kind of was difficult to work with at all?
Sure. And that's where we're going to end that conversation. The answer is yes, and you know who you are. Yes.
Well, like again, that comes back to being a producer, is solving problems, and a lot of this job is personality management, just as like resource. I mean,
if you I think honestly, to be a good producer, you should minor in psychology.
Yeah,
honestly, it's mostly being a therapist. Yeah, because every day I get phone calls from my filmmakers or my co-producers or whatever. And 90% of it is complaining about something, maybe even unrelated. And they're upset, they're angry, they're frustrated, they're whatever. Never happy. No one's ever happy. Everyone's always frustrated. And you have to be like, I understand where you're coming from. I'm so sorry that you're feeling this way. We can't fix it. So we need to make the best we can with it. They're like, I don't want to make the best we can. I was like, well, then maybe we lose the scene. No, I don't want to lose the scene. Okay, so you have to pick one. It's like, and it's just being super. And here's the thing: that is one of the greatest things I've learned over the past, however many years I've been doing this, is patience with the people, right? And I'll have phone calls. Even I had a phone call yesterday with one of our filmmakers who basically was like, I'm unhappy with X and I want you to fix it. Goodbye. And there's nothing to fix. We can't do anything about it. The bed has been made. You need to lay in it. But I can't be like, no, you listen to me, you little prick. No. You say, okay, let me get back to you. It's always sort of like you hang up. You wait like 2 days. And you're not going to do anything those 2 days. Nothing's going to happen. It's going to be the same answer. But in 2 days, I'm able to call back and say, like, look, we can't change this. This is the situation. But if you're unhappy about it, do you have any suggestions yourself? No, I don't have any suggestions myself. All right, then how can we make the best of the situation, right? And then you sort of go that process. So it's like you let the person cool down a little bit. But, I would say overall, between behind the scenes, behind this camera talent and in front of the camera talent, meaning directors, writers versus talent, actors, I would say mostly as a producer, you're dealing with issues with the behind the camera talent. The in front of the camera talent, even though that is my responsibility, we have very fun sets. And so the actors are always usually having a good time. If anything, it's like, my trailer smells kind of funky and I could use a candle or two. And we're like, for sure. Or like, I don't like the food. Your caterer sucks. Meanwhile, everyone's shoveling down the food. I'm like, maybe we can get you a salad or something. It's stuff like that where it's, actors will have their demands. My favorite, I'll say it out loud. I shot a long time. It never came out. So I produced, David Mamet did a TV pilot that I produced called Aztec Blood in 2014. And it's like Rob Riggle starring, and Rob demanded iced tea Snapple and Chips Ahoy cookies. Demanded it.
There will be no movie.
It was a TV pilot. So I was like, of course. I will gladly get that to you. And so, since then we sort of, Storm Reed, who was one of the stars in SLEIGHT, she's the star of Wrinkle in Time. She's the star of our film at Sundance this coming Sundance called Relive. One of the the biggest teen actor alive, right? Shout out to Storm Reed. And I remember on set, and it was her and her mom. I was like, can I can you please demand something? I think she wanted sour skills or something every day. I was like, I'll get you 4 stuff like that I enjoy. Because we'll cook on set. We really like to make it summer camp on set so people are enjoying themselves. But of course, the most stressed person there is the director. And so they're usually the ones who are like, I have issues and I want you to fix them. And I think as a producer, I one of my earlier movies, which we won't mention names of the movies, the director and I butt heads to the point where it's almost unnatural to the degree where by the time we started production we were not talking, right? And it wasn't. I can't fault the person for feeling that way because their background, their upbringing didn't really include the word no a whole lot. And I don't think I was sensitive to that fact. And I can't, again, you can't judge, right? Almost envious. What a great childhood to have. But I think I was behaving the way that I normally do, which is I'm treating you like a human being who doesn't need kid gloves, right? And I think it was someone who really, really needed those kid gloves to make the relationship work. You don't have to become best friends with the person, right? It's not like you have to leave and invite this person to your wedding. You just have to get through production, really. Because once you get to post-production, the ball's sort of back into the producer's court, unless the director's final cut.
I'm going to use all this shit you saying on my bitches. Yeah. This is some smooth-ass relationships. It's like, yeah, girl, I hear what you said and I understand. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to call for 2 days, though.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I think but here's the thing. What I've really, when you're talking about psychology, what I've learned is that when people are upset, they mostly want to hear that you understand what they're saying and that you hear them. That's it. They almost don't care about the solution. It's more of, I'm upset. I need to say what I'm upset about. I don't need to explain. Me as Eric doesn't need to explain my feelings. It's not about feelings or how I'm feeling. It's more about let's get this art on camera, on film. It's you hear them. You say, I even if you don't agree, I understand where you're coming from. Let me see what I can do. And you just buy yourself time. Even if you know you're going to do literally nothing about it and it's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, you still want to make it seem like it's I am more upset than you are. That's it. That's all people want to hear. I'm upset. I'm more upset than you. Suddenly everyone's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to just keep going back and I'm going to direct this next scene. Like, if you let me know, if anything else happens, you let me know. That's it. That's it. But it's taking, it's evaluating that every movie. And we've worked with people like that. And we've worked with people like Marty, who just directed Rise. Marty, her real name is Marite.
Marite Go.
Yeah, Marite Go has been my line producer for years. Like, she's line produced some of our most successful films. She's a director by trade. Rise is her standalone directorial debut. We did a film before it called Phobias. It was an anthology movie, a horror anthology. She was one of those. But Marty's a pro, right? Marty has dealt with more bullshit than I have on these movies. So Rise was an extremely pleasant experience because Marty knew what to do. She knew what was possible and what wasn't possible. So, I think not that we're excluding less trained filmmakers from the pool ever, but it's nice to sort of have that variation.
It's a refreshing experience to have somebody who's been there and done that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, before we bring it around home, I got 3 questions for both of you gentlemen. The first is, what is y'all's favorite movie or favorite moment making a movie? Like, what's your favorite experience that you've had so far?
Oh man,
Commandeering the Ghanaian military.
That looked really fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
I think it was in Ghana. We were on top. I like to call it Pride Rock. When we were in the savannah, we set up base camp on top of this rock formation.
Yeah.
And we had to climb up with ropes up onto the top of this rock
With
formation.
the equipment on our back.
Right. Because we were doing a drone shot.
Right. In the middle of a thunderstorm, a lightning storm.
In the middle of a thunderstorm, and I was wearing the most raggedy fucking sneakers of all time. I almost busted ass 100 times. But we get up there, and the rain just stopped, and the sun's peeking out, and the drone goes off, and it's following the real military convoy from the Ghanaian military convoy, like the real fucking thing. And I'm just standing there, I'm looking at everybody.
Actors.
No.
I'm looking at everybody on top of this rock, and I'm looking at the cars go out, and I'm looking at the drone capturing it, and I'm seeing what it's capturing, and I just take a look at the surroundings and just humble myself for a second and realize where I am, what I'm doing, and who I'm doing it with. And I just loved every aspect of all 3 of it. And to me, that was one of the most fulfilling moments of my whole life, not just my career film.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
How about another one? Give us another one.
Oh man.
For Eric.
From another movie.
On John Henry, we were shooting a lot of it in Compton, and we asked permission to shoot in this part of town. We asked Film LA, and they granted us this permission. And little did we know that was not really the permission we needed to be asking. And a pretty prevalent gang in Los Angeles came to set and made it known that we needed to really ask them for the permission if we wanted to be shooting where we were shooting.
And they weren't just talking shit.
No, they were not just talking shit. They slashed our tires on our trailers.
On the trailers.
And they came back a couple different times and tried to shake us down about 3 separate times. And luckily we had Ludacris on the film. And, Luda's a great guy, and his team, Jeff, his manager, is also a wonderful guy. And they had a bit of a relationship with the guy that was really doing the heavy lifting when it came to shaking us down. And let me tell you one thing, if he was succeeding. And Jeff really smoothed the whole thing over. And Eric and I were set for a couple minutes, and this whole thing was happening. We get back, and everybody's freaking out, like, what the hell is about to happen? Like, there's 100 people here, there's camera equipment. And it all smoothed itself out because we were leaving the next day. That was our last night on set.
Luckily.
But they came back one more time.
The next day.
Yeah, with 3 more guys from his gang. And basically said, if you're not out of here tonight, you're going to have a lot bigger problems than slash tires. And I don't know why I just told that story, because that's not one of my favorite moments from shooting. that's maybe on the opposite. That might be my least favorite.
It came from Eric's suggestion.
Yeah. I was going to tell it earlier.
Well, you missed the first part. The first part of that story is someone came up to me that day and they said, "Hey, Luda and his manager are here in their trailer, and go say hi." I was like, for sure. So I go in, and there's Luda and two guys. I know who Luda is. And I introduced myself to everyone, and they were clearly unhappy. Or one of the guys was clearly unhappy, and I was like, he's like, we got a problem. I was like, I know. And literally, I was like, I know it smells in here. We're literally on our way to get Febreze.
That's hilarious.
And he goes, and he goes, no, that's not the problem. I was like, oh, is the toilet not working? You're using like bigger problems. I'm like, what? He's like, who gave you permission to shoot here? I was like, Film LA. He goes, no, who gave you permission to shoot here? I'm like, the person at Film LA. He's like, no.
You know what I'm talking about.
I'm like, I don't. He's like, well, I'm a gang boss. I was like, oh, he's IATSE. He's trying to flip us. I was like, we can't flip. We're a non-union crew. And this guy's so confused, and I'm so confused. And it was only until after this whole conference, I was there like just the entire time. I'm like, I don't know. So you need to hire my security. I'm like, security? There's no security part of IATSE. Like, there's no union security team. In my head, I'm like, I don't know. So I'll talk to people. I don't know. I was like, this guy's clearly not the manager. I leave, and the director's like, oh, did you just meet? And you can bleep this out. He's like, oh, he's the head of the gang here. And I was like, oh, he meant gang boss as like a gang boss.
Oh, how did I forget? I was actually in one of our movies. I was in Phobias.
Yeah, Bulls and Phobias.
It's really my Oscar. This is my Oscar push, so I hope everybody's listening. But I'm one of the EMTs in the film. I shut one of the back doors on the ambulance.
You're in the opening credits.
It's so unbelievably graceful.
Oh yeah, I was on set.
You guys have no idea what you're about to see.
Yeah. No, we have a lot of good times on set. I think even the bad stuff is even like this conversation with the gang was like still fun. Yeah. But in hindsight,
it's an experience.
Yeah, as long as no one gets hurt,
it's a great story.
Yeah, it's always a great story. Yeah, but no, we try to make it a good thing.
Do you guys have like a dream project or something you really want to do that you have your eyesight on in the future? Like, oh, I really want to film here, or oh, I really want to do this type of film.
Money is no object. What would you do?
I won't say it on here because I'm keeping it very, very close to my chest. There's an old movie that. I'll give you some clues. We'll see if anyone can guess it. It was a movie that Gramercy had from like the 80s that Universal bought. Universal owns this movie. It has since become a play. I saw it in the West End in London. And it's a true story. And I think to remake it, it's like it has like the emotional weight of Titanic in terms of like star-crossed lovers. Mm-hmm. Set against like one of the most popular and influential group of people to ever exist on planet Earth, and it's like this very intimate musical drama. And the movie itself is sort of free and clear still. But I'm waiting till we have the right resources to remake it. But that, without giving anything away, has been a dream.
John and Yoko.
Yeah, John and Yoko. But the other thing I will say is there's a book. I'll put this on the record. There's a book that Roger Corman owns. I should say his wife, Julie Corman, owns, called The Westing Game. And it's like a Willy Wonka-esque structure about like this billionaire who dies, and all the tenants in his building sort of get invited to the reading of the will, and they basically get clues to his death. And the first team, and like the people in the building are sort of set with different people, so it's not like room by room. It's like someone from like the 5th floor, someone from the 1st floor, whatever, and they have to solve the murder. And the first person to solve the murder, the case of his death, inherits the money. And so that's something that I read when I was younger, and I've always wanted. They made it into a movie in like the 90s with a different title. It wasn't very good. I literally had like lunch with Julie Corman like 2 months ago at Nate and Al's to try to convince her to give us. I was like, you don't do anything with it. She's like, well, if you want to buy the whole library, you can buy and you can inherit that. I'm like, I don't want the whole library. I just want that one book. So that's something that I would kill for it, but I don't think I'll have to wait for everyone in that family to stop making movies. Yeah. If you get what I'm saying.
All right.
I'm picking it up.
Well, to bring us home, what is y'all's advice to young filmmakers? We gear our show to the up-and-coming kid out there in the middle of nowhere in Idaho. And if you got to tell them some advice for getting into the game, what you got?
Hashtag just do it.
Oh, boy. Hashtag just do it. Yeah, seriously, don't be bashful. You gotta talk, you gotta shuck, you gotta jive. You gotta really try and meet as many people as you possibly can, because you never know who you're speaking to. And then, most importantly, you have to really have an understanding of what your capabilities are and what you can do and what you're good at, and just seize every single opportunity that you can. That's what happened with me. I got an opportunity with Eric, and I made the most of it, and that's why I'm here today, and we're on a trajectory that, you know, we're both really proud of.
Yeah.
But it's about, you know, understanding who you are, what you're good at, what you're bad at, and using those tools to your advantage to try and provide value to somebody that can help elevate you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah, very good. I like that. And thank you.
Hey.
Yeah. Good seeing you. Nice seeing you. I would say, we sort of talked about this earlier, I would say not having a fallback plan is really, and again, I know this because we talk about it so much in our class at USC, is this idea, and kids, you know, kids sort of bring up like, that's the most horrifying thing. I don't come for money.
Not having a
right?
plan?
No, well,
I sure shit didn't have a plan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not even not having a plan. It's, you don't have to have a specific plan. It's like, I want to be a producer.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a producer. That's it. That's the plan. I want to be a producer. If you have a backup plan to that,
you won't work as hard to attain that.
You just
goal.
can't. You physically can't.
Yeah.
You psychologically, mentally, physically, emotionally, grammatically, systematically cannot work at the same level as someone who's truly saying, I'm not going to take any other job or side gig.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only, and that was my thought. When I was at Blumhouse for a year, did 12 movies in a year, which is nuts, first of all. But I got fired from Blumhouse after we sold Ritual. Like the day after we sold Ritual, even though we'd been given permission to make the movie, I got fired from Blumhouse. And that week, it was like a Friday in October, 2012. And I was like, I just graduated college 6 months ago. I'd basically been working there and said, I don't remember what I said. I think I said I already graduated so I could like work. And I had a decision that weekend. You know, I've always wanted to be a producer. And I said, do I become an assistant somewhere else? Or do I take this as fate sort of kicking me out the door and saying, no, this is the only thing you're going to be doing? And I sort of had to think, without even consulting my parents at the time, because I was 21. I was like, if I do this, I can't do anything else. Uber and Lyft wasn't even an option, right? Like I know, of course, everyone takes Uber and Lyft, and I meet a lot of producers through that.
Costume designers.
Yeah, I mean, everything. Actors. I mean, like, and again, I understand, look, as an actor, I more understand it because, you know, you're not completely in control of your destiny, but a producer is.
No, there's so many factors.
A producer is 100%. You are in control of your destiny, even more so than a director, right?
Yes.
And so my thought was, if I do this, I can't give myself another option.
You can't give yourself the option to fail because you'll want to fall back on it.
I will just understand, I'm only going to make money from one source, simply from making movies. That was the goal. And then from there, it was like, okay, like, how do I do that? And that's different for everyone. But I think overall, the advice would be, even if you, and I almost would say, if you can't financially afford to do that, then do it even more, because you'll actually succeed. But I think people are afraid of it because you hear these stories, and you either hear these stories and you're like, I can handle that, which is the wrong mentality, or you hear the stories and you say, too scary for me, which is also the wrong mentality. The right mentality, I think, is you understand what the job entails. It's extremely high anxiety. It's very stressful. You almost question yourself every day. People ask me, like, what do you enjoy about producing? I literally say, nothing.
Yeah.
We basically,
most answers like, I had nothing.
Something
put the
goes
same
wrong
exact
every day.
puzzle together every single day.
Every single day. And then once the puzzle's together, someone emails you and you're like, and they're like, we're coming after you for this one thing. You're like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? And then completely, and you're like, oh my. And so it's learning. I think the people who, like the producers who you know their names of, Jason Blum, Jerry Bruckheimer, Kathleen Kennedy, these are people who are obviously, you know, keep their heads down and just charge forward
Exactly.
like a bull.
Yep.
Who don't give themselves options.
Yes.
And so I really think that young up-and-coming filmmakers, whether you're directors or writers or producers, you have even more now, you have a more of a responsibility to prove yourself wrong and be like, I don't know if I can do this. And it might seem so crazy to just like go out and try something, because it goes against, it's not how you're raised. It's not what they teach you in school. It goes against every single thing you've been taught up to that point in time, and you sort of just have to do it. Yeah. And I think if you do it, you just got to do it. And if you keep getting punched and you keep going down, you have to keep getting back up every single time, to a degree where you're like, this is crazy.
100%.
Literally, and again, and for anyone listening, like that, you're not alone. If you are like, this is literally nuts what I'm doing to myself.
That is the job.
Yeah.
That's the job. That's the job.
I called Eric. I think we had a phone call on Friday night, a conference call, and then I called him right after and was screaming, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Every single day there's something new.
Yeah.
But, it's important to never get too low.
And I think my response was like,
It's important. You never get too low. And you never get too high. You just got to continuously truck on. And if you want to be a producer, you have the ability
and meditation.
to create your own destiny.
Meditation is key.
It's extremely important to keep a level head.
Yes. I would highly suggest get into meditation.
A level head is the most important thing because
you're going to be challenged mentally.
You're going to be challenged mentally, but there's also everything's a learning experience. And when you're a young filmmaker in any sect of whatever that may be, director, actor, producer, the most important thing you can do is learn. You can learn a lot from the success, but you learn even more from failure and getting punched in the gut.
Yeah.
And if you don't get too low from it and too distraught and too discouraged, you can take the lesson from it. And that's the most beautiful
I would almost say, I know we're running out of time. I would almost say the best thing that can happen is to fail as much as you can. I mean, failure is not like you're losing money, but to have enough traumatic experiences, and I really mean traumatic. There's no, you don't get through producing without having traumatic experiences, but have as many traumatic experiences as you possibly can in the earlier years of your career. Like, fuck up as much as you possibly can now, because when you're making, even the movies that we make low budget movies. We're not spending millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on the line here, and I'm not saying losing money, but other things involved in the filmmaking process. To fuck up royally consistently now is so much better than when you're dealing with, Transformers 7, and you're like, oh shit, we missed up on this one thing.
Oh,
and now
that's a $200 million fuck up,
right? Yeah,
which is
you don't.
terrifying.
You don't want to do that.
Well,
And just like Rocky Balboa gets knocked down by Ivan Drago, Defiant Studios up in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Yo,
tell us where the fans can find you.
Yeah. Give a shout out. Look at the camera.
Don't come find us.
Well, you want to plug anything? Any social media? Any websites? Projects? Let the people know what you got.
Okay, we have a few things. Let's just plug a few things.
Number.
Instagram. We only have an Instagram account. It's defiant.studios. At defiant.studios.
We need to get it better.
It was the other one wasn't available.
The dot.
I know. We have to
Dot.
get it.
What is the dot?
What's it, man? Monster Party comes out on DVD and VOD. No, it's already on VOD. It comes out. It's on VOD now. It comes out on DVD December 18th.
And if you don't know what that is, by the way, you can listen to our episode with Chris, the director of Monster Party.
And Mickey Gooch, your fearless leader. Mickey Gooch.
Yeah,
is in
Mickey
that
Gooch.
film.
Yeah. All About Nina comes out on DVD and VOD on December 18th as well. We have a few films coming out next year in theaters. One's called Stray. That's Joe Still's movie. Comes out in March. We have a movie called Deep Murder, which Mickey Gooch also makes a little appearance on.
Hilarious movie.
Yeah, Deep Murder. You have to find Deep Murder in the springtime. And then anyone going to Sundance 2019, go get tickets to Relive, which is a very scary movie. But yeah, I think there's anything else that we.
Yeah.
I think that's everything.
The 3 movies this year, you'll hear about them soon.
Yeah.
They're coming, baby.
They're coming for you hot.
Word. All right. Well, Carl, you want to take us around the circle? You want to plug?
Oh, yeah. Mr. CD Enforcer, Poppy Carl on the Insta Jesus and whatnot. Check out the Ding Dong Show at Mondays at the Comedy Store in the Belly Room, 10 p.m. all the time. Not embarrassing us, causing trouble. Always check out GT's Comedy Jam. We're doing 2 comedy shows a month. Check out Crosswords 3 when it comes out. Check out Scramble, the Scramble movie on iTunes. Check out Office Uprising on Crackle and shit. Check out motherfucking all kind of shit. Ooh, check out Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Do you guys think the new Sherlock Holmes movie is going to be funny?
I think so.
Will Ferrell and
Justin Watson.
I think so.
I'm very conflicted on it because I love both of them. Their chemistry is unbelievable.
They're a great
but I just
duo.
don't know.
Hey, how can it be bad?
I mean,
I don't think it'd be bad. I don't think it'd be bad.
If they're in there
know.
just riffing,
It's mostly improv.
It better be.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be
High
good.
expectations.
I mean, I saw in the trailer they had a bit about what is it? Doing Morse code, but doing a drunk dial. and they're doing a more drunk telegram in the middle of the night. And he's like, "Yes, send it. That's the exact right thing to do."
Yeah.
To do in the morning. So I was like, "All right, that sets the tone for what this is going to be."
Oh wait, I need to plug one more thing.
Yes.
Last night I saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes. How was that?
I heard it was fabulous.
2 things.
Yeah.
You need to see it. You should see it in 3D. I didn't see it in 3D. I'm going to see it again. You need to take an edible an hour before you see it so it kicks in when you see it. I would say it's probably the most sophisticated animation film I've seen in my entire life.
Yes.
And
they're talking Academy Awards for this.
100%. 100%. And the soundtrack, if you're a hip hop fan, the soundtrack is legendary.
Also phenomenal. Yeah.
It's
Shout out Post
legendary.
Malone.
Yeah. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you have to see that in theaters.
Miles
And you have to
Morales.
see it in 3D.
Yes.
Like, this is the only movie that I've ever been like, this movie is incredible.
It's incredible.
And 3D
mind-blowing.
changed, like, 3D changes the game.
Yeah.
You guys
Specifically
are making me
for this
feel
movie. It's
incredibly
fantastic.
bad.
See it.
The best animated movie,
Yeah.
I think, of the year.
Yeah.
I can't see
And I saw
3D.
Wreck-It Ralph 3 times.
Gabby, where can the people find you?
Where can the people find me? The people can find me on Hermione Granger and the Quarter Life Crisis on YouTube. You can find me at the Princess Collective.
Yes.
And follow me on Instagram, Gabby Shake.
Shake, shake, shake.
Boom.
Thomas?
Oh, yeah. Follow me on Instagram, T McD. And if you want to know any more, watch my episode of this show on YouTube.
Wait, not just on YouTube. You guys can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Music as well.
We're everywhere.
There you go.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
for being here.
This was a blast.
Open invitation.
Dude, so much.
Next
so,
time you got something
Every
to plug,
Sunday. We'll just come every Sunday.
Can we come back?
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, absolutely.
you can heckle us from the corner.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Please. One mic, just the two of
You
us.
can come in and knock on the glass.
Yeah, please.
Well, thank you, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go to skitbags.com, watch Fight Dub, watch The Mix and Serve, listen to film history, the history of film. Like our Gabalicious over there said, we are platform agnostic. So just go find us. And on that note,
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
We're out.
holidays. Black Jesus.
Black Jesus.
Skitbags Radio.